Hey guys, really quickly, I wanted to get in an HTML tutorial today. Basically what we're doing is building an interactive lesson and hopefully figuring out some HTML coding for Canvas. Canvas is kind of limited on what it will let you do style-wise, but I think we're going to expand past a little bit past Canvas and then go back a little bit. Once we've done that, then you'll see that you can adapt a lot of HTML style information into style sheets, things like that, into Canvas. You just have to make some workarounds. Basically, you have to set up inline style sheets versus an external document. Today we're going to look at how to set up an external document. However, we're going to see if we can't get it to work in an application on the internet called CodePen. Basically what that does is it allows us to have an HTML sandbox. And so what we're going to do, we're going to set up an HTML sandbox and we're going to go from there. However, first of all, I need to make a couple of adjustments here, it looks like. Interesting. Let's see. Where's my text at? There we go. I'm going to change my text up just a little bit. And my ticker. Sheets. HTML style sheets. Documents. Alright, let's see if that doesn't reflect things a little bit more accurately, and also up here. Let's do that. Okay. So, I'm going to do a little bit of HTML design, style sheets, and how they can be used. So, hopefully this works out for us. Let's go ahead and get right into that. Remember, if you have any audio troubles, go ahead and hit me with a text and let me know if you need it louder, silent, quieter, or whatever. So, here we go. All right. Looking at the page. This is CodePen. The address is codepen.io, and essentially what it is, it's an HTML sandbox. It lets you set up HTML pages without having to have a server and all those things, and it will allow pretty much every technology you can think of as far as style sheets, as far as JavaScript. You can do whatever you need to do. And down here in this white area, this is where the effect is going to show up. So when you save, like for example, I've already got a kind of a layout here. I'm going to go ahead and save that, and when you do, then of course you can't see any text down here, but it will show up down here. I'm going to go ahead and just add some text to just basically to show you what is going on here, and I'm going to just type in interactive HTML lesson. Alrighty, and you'll notice, since autosave has finally been activated, down here, this is where, this is where our information will show up. As far as, and when I say information, I mean the things that we've designed on the page. So hopefully, hopefully this will be something worthwhile, and that you'll get some use out of it. So let's go ahead and start building the framework. It's always better when you're building a page online to start building the framework, get the divs in place, get the layout in place, and then go ahead and put in the content, pictures, and text and whatnot. So what I've got here so far, I've got the basic layout of an HTML page. And you should be familiar with that. If not, anytime you want to, HTML documents are just text documents. But what you have to do is format them with tags. This is just going to kind of be a brief introduction to HTML. You should already know, but in case you don't, this is a tag. It starts off with an angle bracket, it has some text, and then it closes with an angle bracket. That's the opening tag of an HTML document. I say opening because it's the first tag that you have to come to. We have an opening and a closing tag. Anytime there's an opening tag, for the most part, with a few notable exceptions, you need a closing tag. So here we have an opening HTML tag. This tells a browser, hey, I'm going to start doing an HTML document. You need to start interpreting it as such. And so basically that's what we have here. We have an HTML document that's being interpreted as such. So we've got an opening HTML. Then there are two parts in any HTML document. There's a head and a body. And so this head, the opening tag for the head is here, as you can see. You'll also see that since there's an opening tag, there's a closing tag. That closes off the head and tells us we're fixing to start the body. Inside the head, there's a couple things that we need to do. Number one, we need to add a title. This title will appear whenever the page is being viewed in a browser. The title will appear up here in these tabs, and it'll tell you div test layout or whatever. So that's where you will see the title. Go ahead and save that. Thank you. So you should see that up here in this title somewhere, although because we're in, here we go, this is where this one would be. However, since we're in a sandbox, it may or may not show up there. Doesn't really matter because we don't care that much about the title. What we care about is basically how to see the content. And what I'm going to do right now is figure out the tag that we need to put in the head. There's another tag we need in there so that we can you know what, we may not need to do that. I'll tell you what, here's how to tell if you need to do that or not. So I'm going to make this text here. Let's make that H1. There's another tag, so we have to have a closing. All right, now notice how it changed down here when I added the H1 tags. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here into the style sheet and I'm going to modify, whoops, the H1 tag. Let me see how I want to do that. Yeah, let's make it blue. What do you say? Let's make the H1, whenever we see an H1 tag, we want it to be blue. How about that? To do that, we modify the tag in the style sheet. Now here's the theory behind the HTML and CSS. The HTML document contains the data. This is where I'm going to put my text. This is where I'm going to put my pictures, the data that I want my audience to see. The cascading style sheet, on the other hand, is where I tell my data how to appear. In this case, the data that I'm working on is an H1 tag. That means the first heading or title. It's going to be the largest text on the page. What I want to do is make this different. I want to make it look blue, for example. I want to make it navy blue rather than black. Right now, as you can see, the text is black. I want to change that to blue. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here in my style sheet, which is a separate document from my HTML document. I'm going to go ahead and add that in there. So the way I do that is I start off with putting the tag in that I'm going to work on, which is an H1 tag, so that all H1s in this document will follow these rules. And I'm going to say color. I'm going to make that navy because I like that dark blue. And let's go ahead and, don't have to save it. All right, you'll notice when I added that, suddenly the text down here turned to dark blue. That is a navy blue, or the internet's interpretation of it. So basically what has happened, when I change style information here, it changed in my document, but it did not change the text. And I did not have to go to all the trouble of changing my text or working with my text or even fooling with the document. This makes life so much easier for developers. For people who work on web pages, when the tags were standalone, when there was no style sheet available, all of this content, or pardon me, all the style information was mixed in with the content. So what I would have to do is I'd have a tag like H1, I'd have another tag that said bold, I'd have another tag that changed the color, and it complicated things. Basically, there might be 6 or 8 tags prior to the text. And every time you went in, now this is not such a big deal in a title tag like this, because there's usually only one in the page. However, on a paragraph tag, if you wanted your paragraphs to have different looks, you had to go in and edit every single one of them in order to change the look of the whole website. If you wanted to freshen up your website, change the whole look, change the color scheme, you had to edit every single tag that had been modified. And that was a horrible, horrible, horrible experience. Now, with style sheets, I can change anything I want to, any way that I want to. Let's say it's Christmas time, and I'm going to change the look of my page, so I want my text to be red. Well, look at that. That's all it takes. Basically, I just changed all my text to red in the entire page that's all H1. If I wanted all my regular text, I could do this very same thing with a paragraph tag. I could make a paragraph tag and I could turn that red or green or whatever color I wanted. I could change font faces. I could go from Arial to Times New Roman to Comic Sans, whatever I wanted. I could do that without touching my content, without having to worry about breaking one of these tags or without losing a paragraph in my text or anything like that. So, consequently, separating content from style information is a huge step forward. I'm going to change this back to blue because, frankly, I like the looks better. All right, so what we want to do now is we're going to go ahead and take a look at do this. Hang on just a second here. Make a 2-column layout for this page is what I want to do. And to do that, I'm going to add some tags called divs, D-I-V. Basically what this is, think of it as a transparent box. If you've been following along with the lessons, you should already be familiar with what a div is, but just in case you're not, that's okay. A div is essentially it's a transparent box that contains pictures or text or anything you want to put in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a div that's a container, which we already have. And then inside this, we're going to put 2 more divs that we're going to call our columns. So inside here, I'm just going to go ahead and put the framework in. Remember what I said a while ago? Always better to put the framework in first. So we're going to make a div here. We're going to ID it. And we're going to say that is column 1. And we're going to close that div. And then here, we're going to make another one. Call that one column 2. Oops. Close that div. And that should be all right. So essentially, that's all we need. We have our container, and now we have our 2 columns. And so what we need to do now is put a little text in here. And we're going to put some more sample text in here. All right, what you'll notice, first of all, is that the sample text one on top of the other instead of side by side. That's not what we want. We want our sample text, and we want our columns to be a 2-column layout. And so what we need to do is we need to move one of these over to this side, and so that they're not one on top of the other, so that they're side by side. And so right now, although what I'm going to do, I'm going to, let's see here. I want to make it so you can see the divs themselves. And so what I'm going to do is set up a background color for each of the pieces. So to do that, I need to okay. So I want to use these IDs. You notice I've already set up the IDs here. Well, now I'm going to use them. This is the thing that you can't do in Canvas that I would really like to be able to do, but you can do it everywhere else. And like I said, you can modify these lessons, or this particular lesson, you can modify it so that it will be you'll be able to use a lot of this stuff in Canvas. But first of all, in order to use an ID, we have to name it within our document, which I've already done. First one we're going to look at is container. In our style sheet, we also have to reference that name, but we start with a hashtag. Hashtag container. What that tells my style sheet is that all the things that I'm going to put in here, it needs to apply to anything between this tag and this tag. So everything in here is going to be affected by what I'm about to do here. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a background color because I'd like this to be, I don't know, light gray. Because I want you to be able to see where the box is. So let's see what happens. All right, look at that. Okay, so you can see everything inside the container is light gray, but there are actually two boxes inside this box. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and set up my two containers, my two column containers as different colors. I'm going to make one light blue, and I don't know, let's make the other one yellow. How about that? Blue and yellow. So to do that, once again, hashtag, I'll say column 1, and I'll make that one light blue. Oop, and there it is. And now let's make this one yellow. Oh, that's going to be hashtag column 2. Pardon me. Sure enough, there's my... Yeah, let's don't make that light yellow. Let's just make it yellow because light yellow is too hard to see. Let's just do that. Okay? All right. So now you'll notice I have two boxes. Sadly, they're still one on top of each other. And so what we have to do now is we need to set it up where I have the columns side by side. And so we're going to go back in here and do that. Two column layout. There we go. All right, so to do that, we've got our two columns. We've got our framework built. We've got our content. That's all we have to do with the content. We don't have to do anything else with it. We're done with content. Now all we have to do is set up a style. And it's actually a lot simpler than you think. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our container here and we're going to add another parameter in there, a property. Okay. By the way, these are the things that we're adding are properties. Background color is a property. Width is a property. Height is a property. We're adding properties to our HTML elements. And so what I'm about to do now is add another property. I'm going to call it display, and it tells the container how to display. In this case, what it tells the container to do is to be resizable. Based on how much content I put in there, this container can get bigger or smaller. The display property, the parameter that I'm going to use is called flex, and what that means is the display is flexible. It can change sizes. So I'm going to do display flex, and now look at that. That's all you have to do. There's one column there, and there's one column there. However, what I want is for the columns to be half the page. Right now, they're squeezed in. Right now, the minute one column ends, the other column begins, and I don't want that. I want them to be essentially halfway across. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to add another parameter to each column, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I've got them set to flex, in the container, I'm going to tell them how much to flex, and I'm going to have this flex 50%. So let's do flex 50%. And let's do the same thing in the other one because it moved it too far. So let's come down here and do the same thing. All right, what I have now is half my page devoted to column 1, half my page devoted to column 2. And it doesn't matter how much material I put in there, I constrained it. A while ago, I had it just set to display as flex, and what that meant is that the columns would shrink down to the size of the text that was already in there. Had I added more information, I could have spread these out, but I don't want to have to necessarily fill up these columns. Now, let's say I wanted to add some more text here. Let's say I wanted to add a, oh golly, let's go find some Absolorum. Okay, let's go get some junk text. We're going to generate some junk text, and I'm going to go ahead and put a paragraph of junk text in my first column. I'm going to replace, and this is just text I'm replacing. Okay, and I'm going to put a paragraph in my second. Okay. So now I have 2 columns of text, basically. Okay. So now I have 2 columns of text here. Both are essentially ad valorem. Lorem ipsum is is an excerpt from a Latin play that people use for, I don't know that it's a play, but it's the Latin writing that people use to take up space in a document. And so that's what I've done here. Don't worry about it. It's just junk text as far as you're concerned. But what I am going to do is I don't like the way this jams itself all up here in the middle. There should be some space here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and separate that out. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a little padding inside of my boxes. Remember we said that a div was like a box? Well, I'm going to add some padding inside my box. Make the walls thicker so the text will be further away. And I'm going to do that for this one. I'm going to go padding, and I'm going to give it 15 pixels. 15, not 16, doesn't matter. 15 pixels. Now, notice, I get 15 pixels over here, and I get 15 pixels over here. Their extra space is because of, it's because the lines aren't justified. They're not all the same length. I also get 15 pixels here and 15 pixels here. I could have said pixels, I could have said padding left, padding right, padding top, padding bottom, and changed and made these all different, but there's no point in that. Let's go ahead and add my 15 pixels of padding to the other one here, to the other column. And now that looks much nicer. That looks like a good column of text. That is nice space, easy to read. It's not crowded. Now if I take out the background color, it looks really nice. Let's go ahead and pop the background out of that, pop the background out of that, and we'll pop the background out of the whole container to get rid of the gray. Sure enough, I have 2 very nice columns of text. This would have been terrifically uncomfortable to do just a few years ago when we were having to use tables and things like that to do page layouts. It would have been a lot more complicated, a lot more uncomfortable. But using style sheets and using div containers, making 2-column layouts is simple. You can do the same thing with a 3-column. If I wanted to put another column div in there and I wanted to make the flex 33% or whatever, I could very easily do that, and we could have 3 columns of text. It's very easy to lay things out with cascading style sheets. Now, had I done this, let's say I'd done this a few years ago the hard way with tables, I would have had to, if I wanted to change my page, I would have had to go through and mess with my content the whole time, trying to change the look of the page. That would have been terrifically uncomfortable. Also, let's say I wanted to change the look of my text. let's go, instead of having to change basically each paragraph or each line, I can come into the container and with one parameter, I can say color, navy, and now all my text is navy. I can add pictures. I can do anything. I can modify this page to look like anything I want it to look like. I can add a border around my div, as we saw a while ago. I can add background color. I can essentially do whatever I want to do, and then change it any way I need to change it, without spending all day trying to. Let me go ahead and put a little title up here. I can do that without having to change all my text or edit a bunch of lines. And if my website consists of, I don't know, 100 pages, 200 pages, and I want to change the whole look, then once upon a time I would have had to edit every single page. It would have taken days and days and days, and still probably I would have made mistakes and not gotten everything until I had had a chance to go look at it. Now I can change one word in a CSS document, and I can change my whole page. Just like that. It's just that simple. So, CSS is an excellent tool for HTML. Now, Canvas has its own problems. You're not allowed to access the main CSS documents in a Canvas page. They keep that reserved for the admins because they don't want people modifying templates. But what you can do is you can create an inline style sheet. You can add these parameters. You can add these rules inside inside the tag. Let me show you. Let's go ahead and get rid of the H1 navy color. Let's go ahead and do away with that. And you'll notice immediately my H1 text goes back to black, right? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace that inside the H1 tag. I'm going to use an inline style sheet for that. And the way that you do that is, first of all, the keyword style. First of all, you have to do it inside the tag. So we've got bracket H1, and make a space in front of your other bracket and put the keyword style. Okay? And we say style is equal to, and then quotation marks. And this is where we can put in color. Whoops. We separate the parameters from its, we separate these two things. We separate the parameter from its descriptor with a colon, and then after that we put a semicolon in. So, and then we surround the whole thing with double quotes. But now you'll notice when I did that, when I put that inside that that tag, my text changed back to navy blue. So you can do this either way. You can do it with an external style sheet, which is the better way, or you can do it with inline style sheets that Canvas requires. So basically, what we've done is we've modified the things that we like to do. We've modified them to fit into Canvas's limited HTML. All right, so let's go back and review just real quickly what we did. We created a division within an HTML document, and we have attached to that style sheet. We made one division as a container. There we go. There it is. Oops, sorry. We made one division. We gave it the ID of container. Inside that, we made another division named column 1 and another division named column 2. And we pasted in some junk text just to act as a placeholder. Once we did that, we came over to our style sheet and we took our container. We took the div with the ID container, and we changed the type of display and made it a flex, which just means that it adjusts the size of the container to whatever it contains. So we changed the display format to flex, and then inside column 1, we said the flex was 50%, which means that the column went halfway across the page. And then column 2, we also made that 50%, which means that it also went halfway across the page. Now, could I have made these different values? Could I have made this 30%, say? I could. Let's see, I did that. And then oh golly, what could I have done? You'll notice all it did was it scooted this box, it made it smaller. And I could make this one also 30%. Once again, it made the boxes smaller and it gave me more space between them. That's all in the world that it does. If I'd made this one 70%, it would have gone back to filling up the whole page, but now I've got 30% here and I've got 70% here. So yes, I can control the width of each column by changing the amount of flex. Once again, I have the padding in here. That just gives me a little padding between the edges, between my borders, between the top and bottom of my column. That just gives me a few pixels of space in there to make it easier to read. Also, it controls the amount of space between the two bodies of text. So that should pretty well explain the use of divs. That should pretty well explain the use of style sheets and why they're actually an improvement, but it also introduced you to inline style sheets. Unfortunately, that's the way Canvas has us set up. So, guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you. I realize this one was kind of long, but it needed to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to call this good. I'm going to set up a recording, and I'm going to put this on YouTube where it's available if anybody's interested. If you're interested in getting some HTML help, if you would like to get a little tutorial going on web design, please give me a shout. Contact me, whiter at grayson.edu, or of course my Twitch. I have all my contact information available in my Twitch channel. So if you're interested and you would like some help, please let me know. In the meantime, have a great day, and I will hopefully see you guys around campus.